We're looking for the fountain of youth.
And you do?
I do the money.
Do you have a boat?
Yes, I do.
Do you have a plane?
Pack your bags. You coming?
Well, you're going.
Before we dig into spoilers, I do want to share something that I thought was very fun and maybe something you would be surprised by. But according to one of my friends at Collider, you're a theme park king. You're on two of the best rides noted by fans at Disney World and Universal with Rise of the Resistance and Escape from Gringotts, respectively. I'm just wondering, how does that honor feel? And are you a big theme park guy?
I love theme parks. I absolutely love them, and I love both those. I've been on both those rides, and it is wild. And I get videos from friends who are at both of them and saying how strange it is. But yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing. They're too expensive for normal people. I think that's not a nice thing. But apart from that, everything else about them is amazing. And the notion that loads of kids get happy going on those rides, I think, is incredible.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do want to talk about The Fountain of Youth. This was such a great movie. It's so much fun, and it has that Indiana Jones sort of vibe. But I do want to talk spoilers and that ending with your character's fate. Owen's reveal as the antagonist isn't just shocking to me. I feel like for a lot of viewers, when they watch it, they're going to find it to be thematically rich. How do you want the audience to look back on him once they know the full truth?
He's an interesting character. I think that Guy didn't want to go down any of the routes that would sort of be obvious with the sort of, billionaire, maniac sort of, he didn't want to do all that sort of stuff. He actually wanted him to be persuasive and interesting and quite likable, even if a little bit odd for the movie, so that at the end it feels like a genuine betrayal, and so to make him relatable first, actually, in some way was the challenge. And so, yeah, you hope people look back. I think what's interesting about him is he doesn't think that what he's doing is all that bad, because he's just used to getting what he wants. So he's just going about getting what he wants any way that he can. And he doesn't see that as a bad thing. I imagine audiences will feel differently.
Yeah, there was that scene too where he's speaking to Natalie's son, Charlotte's son,
Yeah.
and he asks him how much is enough, and basically you say it's never, you're not really satisfied, and you always kind of want more. And when that final moment happens and he drinks from the fountain and he dies, it's ironic, but it's also tragic. How did you interpret what that scene says about belief and obsession, and even this ego that ultimately he had at the end when culminated into what he wanted?
Yeah, I guess it shows the difference between people who learn from the people around them and people who don't. Because John's character, over the course of the film, his journey is that by the end, he learns to listen to his sister. He learns to have an equal relationship with somebody. And I think somebody in Owen Carver's shoes will never, ever listen to anybody unless he thinks they're more powerful than him. And so there's no one for him to learn from, so he's got nothing to learn. And so he makes mistakes that are his undoing.
The movie has this strange relationship with power and legacy. And for you as an actor who is so, I love all your movies, they're so different. What emotional undercurrent were you most interested in playing with a role like this?
Well, the stuff that we were just talking about, the fact that he... that at the end, his undoing is there at the beginning of the story, that the fact that his thirst for power is unquenchable, that comes back to bite him in the ass. I think I liked that. But to be honest, the reason to do the film was he's not the biggest part in the film, but I got to go and work with John Krasinski and Natalie Portman while being directed by Guy Ritchie. And that's the reason, really, to be there, and it was thank God it lived up to it so much. I absolutely loved them all.
I'm curious for you, what was the best experience on set with John and Natalie and spending all that time with them? Because there's a rich chemistry across the scenes, and I love how everybody sort of plays off each other. And I imagine being, sort of in a place that you guys are isolated together, you're spending a lot of time in. What was that like, portraying all of that sort of friendship off screen onto the scenes itself that were very contentious at times because you guys are not really on the same page at the end of the day?
Yeah, by the end of the film, they're not on the same page, but actually we shot that at the end of the shoot. And so all the getting to know you stuff and having fun stuff was at the beginning. And that was nice because it meant at the end, my guy is quite mean to Natalie and John. And I think I would have found that a little tougher earlier on. by the end, you know them so well that you can have a laugh about it, you know. So that was all good. And Benji as well, who was so fantastic. So yeah, I really feel like I learned a lot from John and Natalie in totally different ways. I loved spending time with both of them. They're both incredibly funny, obviously insanely good at what they do. And I think they're great in the film. I love their chemistry in the film together. I think it's so fun. It's not what you expect from either of them. And I think people are going to love it.
Was there a scene in particular that you loved filming that when you saw it on paper, you were like, okay, here's how it's going to be. But when you actually got to perform it, and then I'm sure if you guys got to watch the movie as yet, you know, you were like, wow, blown away by how it was, produced and projected.
Yeah, the ending builds to a pretty huge sort of a crescendo. But actually, the time where I had the most time with Guy was one of my favorite days, which was just me and Benji, which was, you know, Guy was on set, he was changing the script, he gave us whole new pages right before we shot, and seeing him change up the rhythms, working with both of us really closely, I also loved that. It ended up being, the scene is exactly the same scene in lots of ways, except for loads of the words are different, which he changed, and that back and forth I really enjoyed, because I got to see him up close and personal. The rest of the time I'm kind of one of seven in a scene. And in that one, it was just two of us with Guy, and I love that too.
What's something set about your character, or even filming this role, that you may want audiences to notice, even if it's subtle, like something about your character that you feel, once they start to see him unravel at the end?
Oh, that's interesting. There was one cool costume detail, two cool costume details that Lulu, one was from Lulu and one was from me. Her one was that he has this little watch, and it's incredibly expensive because he's a billionaire or whatever like that. But you could flip over the face. I think it was worth like $150,000, and nobody gave it to me at the end of the movie, which I think is a disgrace. But you could turn the face of it two sides, and I love the fact that his watch had two faces. I don't think the audience ever see that, but I just love that his watch had two faces. And then he also has a little fáinne, which is a symbol in the last few scenes, which is a symbol that he speaks the Irish language. And I don't think he does speak the Irish language. I think he just wants to look like he does and look like he's cultured, and actually he's got nothing behind it. So those were two little details that the audience would never know and aren't explained in the film, but that were nice for me.
I love that. I think that's so great. Before I do let you go, I know that you're starring in the paper, the spinoff of The Office, who also, you have a connection on set with John Krasinski. Did you and John have any conversations? And I'm also really curious, as a fan of The Office, as you can probably see, I am so excited for this show, and I'm very excited for you. So is there anything you can tease about, like, what fans of the original can expect with this one?
I don't know there's much I can tease, because they're being super, in-house about letting the information out when the show comes out, which I think is a good way to do it. People are going to have to take the show on its own merits, because it's all, it's become something different. It's a whole new city. It's not like a remake. It's like the documentary crew went to a different city and are following different people. It's not a paper company. It's a newspaper. It's a very, very different setup. But yes, of course I talked to John, and it was crazy. I was working with John, so I got to talk to him about it before I fully jumped onto the job, and he was incredible and has remained incredible. He's also a wonderful director, I'm sure you know John, and writer, so I got to learn a lot from him in loads of different ways. And I'd also worked with Steve Carell before, so I got to talk to each of them. I think a lot of it is just soaking up their vibe. They're both very selfless actors, and I think that's necessary in work like that. I think it has to be about the ensemble. They seem to be like that with all of their work. And I think just leading by example, I think that was a lesson for me all on its own.
Well, I'm very
They're also really funny. They're also really funny, which is like terrifying. That's the other thing. But yeah, everything else.
Well, I cannot wait. And I am also very excited for everybody to see Fountain of Youth. It is a phenomenal, fun movie. And thank you so much for your time again. Congrats on everything.
Thanks a million. I really appreciate it.